Hello, everybody. Welcome to Joe and Black Ministries. I'm Father Joe Krupp, and you are not. And today is Wednesday, August 20th, the year of our Lord 2025. And we have a special guest. I don't know where he went. Just a second. Bob?
Over here by Carrie.
Oh, he's over there. Bob comes with I now am the proud owner of a demon. A four-legged demon with tiger stripes named Bob. For those of you who are like, Joe, I thought you hate cats. I hate cats. And I love this one. We are besties. Oh, here, Carrie's bringing him over. She hates being on camera, so I'm going to reach. Hello, Bob. This is Bob, everyone. If you can see, he's pure evil. And he's a biter, in case you were wondering. Yes, he is a biter. I'm usually super allergic to cats, but I don't know, it must have changed because he doesn't make me sneeze. He doesn't make me cough. I'm looking over here now.
Hold him up.
Oh, hold him up. Come here, mijo. Hold on, everybody. To this camera?
Yeah.
Bob has no interest in you people. See him? Oh, look at the boo. And you can't hear it, but he is purring like a diesel engine right now. He just loves to be rubbed. So, this is Bob. Bob is, he's a good boy. And what's funny, Dad loves him. Seriously. The two of them, and then Father Lay. Oh my gosh, it's not, I'm the third choice. All I do is feed him. Want to start off and, of course, give a warm welcome to all of our foreign correspondents. Patricia and Veronica in Scotland. Brem Van in Canada, Sabine in Germany, Richard in England, Margaret in New Zealand, Chris in the Philippines, Finula and Kaylin in Ireland, John in Spain, Jose in Mexico, Karen in Singapore, Eileen in Australia, and Kevin in Wisconsin. Okay, did you? Okay, Carrie's late because she's doting on the kitten. And a howdy hi to all of my thugs and to Vermont Mike, my favorite agnostic. Now, I'm going to try to remember, Carrie, to do our commercials later. But today's show, I think, is very cool. And first of all, we're going to dedicate this show today, do you know about this? To Sister Mary O'Fallon. Mary O'Fallon. And why? A, she's one of my favorite Wolverines. And she is a Swiss Guard groupie. Yeah. And this whole thing is about the Swiss Guard today. And why are we doing this again? I did this 4 years ago. And it's a really simple reason. One, we had much less people listening back then, right? And I think this is such an incredible topic. But two, I didn't do a good job last time. I actually went back and listened to it, and the ADHD was at level 20 on a scale of 10. So there was Chuck making a lot of inappropriate jokes, me trying to focus, Carrie was drunk. We just had to do this over again. And the funny thing is, it took me 3 episodes last time. I bet I can do it in 2. I'm not kidding.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're going to get after the Swiss Guard today. And by that, I mean there is going to be a fight. One of the interesting things, there's a bunch of documentaries out there on the Swiss Guard today, and they're worth your time. It's a group that doesn't do a lot publicly. They're a kind of equivalent of a Secret Service in the sense of they don't want you to, even, I saw a documentary about 4 or 5 months ago, and they blurred what gun they're carrying, which was fascinating. I was like, we don't care what you're carrying. We care that you have one. And most of their weapons that are real weapons, you cannot see. So you see them with the halberd, right? The stick with the axe on the end and the pointy thing. And you might think, oh, that's just for show. Go fight one of them. See how it goes. But they are carrying weapons. They are strapped. And they're ready to dance the man dance if they have to. So anyway, how did this all start? Well, first, the name of the show today is Fiercely and Faithfully. That is their motto, right? It used to be, I'm loving it, but then McDonald's got a hold of it. It's a little piece of trivia. And wouldn't it be funny if seriously they had this, the heartbeat of America, the Swiss Guard? It's no, guys, that's Chevy. You can't do that. Although, you know what one would work? Like a rock. If they could get Bob Seger to sing like a rock, and then, anyway, because they're protecting Peter the Rock. So where did this custom come from? Well, it was the case that the Swiss were known for being a mercenary army, right? Tons of people hired them. They were not exclusive to the Pope. This was an open relationship. They were known to be some of the best warriors in the world. You may remember when Julius Caesar started goose-stepping all over Gaul and killing everyone. Like, I believe he killed 3 million Gauls, which is just insane. When he got up north and bumped into the Helvetians, which is what the Swiss are, the Helvetians, he was like, yeah, let's go home. He specifically wrote in his diary about, I don't want to fight those people again. And Rome never really tried. Not that much to go up there and slap the Helvetians around. But this is what, there's a Roman scholar named Tacitus, and here's what he wrote, quote, "The Helvetians are a people of warriors and famous for the valor of their soldiers." So this history of them being brutal, loyal warriors was hard-grained into their DNA. At the time that we're going to start talking about, which is in the 1500s, they were serving all the ruling powers of a lot of different European countries, and people competed to pay them more, right? So France and Spain in particular would get into these insane bidding wars over who gets some Swiss Guard. Okay, how we doing?
Good.
How did this happen? How did such a tiny little country, to quote a Scottishman, tiny, how did they get an army of freakish beasts? Well, oddly enough, from the farming system they use there and their inheritance laws. Here's how it worked. Swiss law required that only the oldest boy could inherit the farm. Now, if you know the 16th century, all the way up to really about 100 years ago, everywhere, you get as many boys as you could because most wouldn't live. And you needed a lot of work. Like, people would tease Dad about having so many kids, and he'd always say, they're free labor, right? And if you're a farmer, there's very few things that are more helpful. They call that slavery, by the way. But all kidding aside, the Swiss ended up with being a country that for a long time was defined by a strange phenomena. You had these huge farm boys who all of a sudden, Dad died, they're kicked off the farm. They have to be. It's the oldest brother's farm now, and he's going to start having boys. And it became a little dangerous. You had roving bands of Swiss men walking around getting into things. Okay? So what ended up happening is the Swiss came into this idea, and it worked great. We're going to create a large army of very large Swiss men, all these dudes with free time and disastrous results with that free time. We are going to turn them into a permanent army of some of the baddest men on the planet. And that's precisely what happened. It became a noble thing to join the military. The other thing you need to remember is that most of the time when you see medieval movies, they get, and intentionally, I understand, they get a lot wrong. Everybody's got armor. No. Very few people had armor. Armor was stupid expensive. Most times, what an army was a certain number of knights who were all armored up, a certain number of lower officials, and then a whole lot of farmers without armor that they said, bring your garden hoe, bring your pitchfork. It wasn't the neat, orderly thing you see now. So imagine if you were a country that produced perhaps the only professional army in Europe. Well, the Swiss Guard. So in 1505, a Swiss bishop was compelled by Pope Julius II. Now, Pope Julius II was famous for making an orange drink. Please don't look that up. In fact, it's called an Orange Julius. There, I said it. Okay. He said we should create a permanent group of Swiss Guard that are loyal to the Pope and under his direct control. Basically, he's a monarch, right? Let's give him a little army. This is a quote from the letter. Quote, "The Swiss see the sad situation of the Church of God, the mother of Christianity, and realize how grave and disastrous it is that any tyrant, hungry for wealth, can insult with impunity the common mother of Christianity." Okay? So, and by the way, that Swiss dude who wrote that, that was Zwingli, who became one of the key, let's leave the Catholic Church and create a new religion guy. Did you know that? Zwingli, yeah. If it's any comfort, he drove Luther crazy. But, so in September of 1505, 150 Swiss Guard started their march from Switzerland to Rome under the command of a guy named Caspar von Sillenen. And they arrived in Rome the next year on January 22nd. So, excuse me, January 22nd is considered the official date of the Swiss Guards Foundation. Okay? How are we doing? Yeah? All right. So basically, Swiss looks and says, here's the church with no army. And anyone with avarice in their heart can loot the church's treasures. And let's get them something. Let's get them a guard. So they arrived. Took them a long walk. It's a long walk. September, October, November, December, January, 6 months. They earned a reputation for integrity, self-sacrifice, and bravery. And just 21 years later, laid down their lives in a hopeless battle just to buy the Pope time to escape. And we're going to walk through that today, because this moment in church history, you could argue, is one of the most important, top 10, right? Outside of the first 300 years, right? That's just not fair. But if you take 325 AD and you jump all the way to now, the battle I'm going to tell you about changed everything. And you'll hear that when we get to this section. When the battle's done, you'll hear that this radically changed the way Catholicism relates to the world and the world relates to Catholicism. Before this, you had this concept. Nobody is horrible enough to attack the Pope. Let's give you a sense of things. Adolf Hitler wouldn't attack the Vatican. Think about that. And not out of virtue. He hated Catholics. He hated Catholicism. He hated the Pope. And he wasn't subtle about it. But what he knew is if he attacked Italy, every neutral country, or if he attacked Rome, every neutral country in the world would turn on them. That's a fact. And nobody wanted the Swiss to get involved, right? Remember, the Swiss were neutral in World War II. Remember, the Italians at this point were on the side of the Nazis. And had the Nazis goose-stepped into the Vatican, that's it. That attitude was even stronger back then. But there was also a recognition that with the advent of Protestantism and a genuine hatred of Rome and Catholics came an opening that was never present before. So let's take a look at it. We're going to look at the last stand of the Swiss Guard, and this is in 1527. Now, for it to make sense, I got to throw some vocab at us. Okay? Any questions? How are we doing so far, sis?
We're doing really well.
Let me guess. Everyone's jealous of the cat?
Yes.
Yeah, I need you people to let that go. I have a cat. You don't. One of us here is a very reverend. Now, I tend not to tell people this, but it's me. There, I said it. With all my astounding modesty, I feel like I'm painted in the corner now and just have to tell you I'm a very reverend, unlike you people. We get cats. It's in the Bible. So let's do some vocab. First thing you need to know is the Holy Roman Emperor, Charles V. Okay, he's from the Habsburg dynasty. And what is the Holy Roman Empire? Remember, the Holy Roman Empire was neither holy, Roman, nor an empire. It was a political group formed under Charlemagne, and an attempt to kind of revive the idea of this central government running Europe. Okay. And at this point, the emperor of the Holy Roman Empire was Charles V. Okay. You also need to know who the Pope was. It was Pope Clement VII. Okay, and he was from the Medici family, I believe. This Holy Roman Empire was the territory ruled by Charles V. Germany, Burgundy, some of France, some of Italy, partridge in a pear tree. Vast area. Now, you need to know this one. Ready? It's a great word. Landsknecht. Yes. Okay, the cat. I don't even know how he did that. Is he behind the...
Yep.
Okay, the cat is between the blinds and the window, and he's clearly confused by what's going on. Yeah, he's not bright, folks. He had a little walnut-sized brain. I looked it up. I was like, how big is a cat brain? About a walnut. And not the nut. Just the nut, not the shell. Okay, anyway. What were we talking about? Oh, Landsknecht were German-speaking mercenaries, and they had three primary weapons, okay? The arquebus, which was like a musket gun, kind of, right? You light a fuse, and when the fuse gets to the point, you pull the trigger, and ahí no. They had the crossbow, which I don't need to explain to you, and the Zweihander. And by the way, this section of this was brought to you by our German correspondent.
Sabine.
I love Sabine. What is a Zweihander? A Zweihander is literally, leave it to the Germans to do this. Zweihander means two hands. And it's a sword that was so big they had to use two hands. What good was a Zweihander? A Zweihander you had to have a psycho. A big guy who was a psycho. Because the idea was pretty simple. When two groups went at it in battle, everybody did a shield wall, right? The thing the Greeks invented, almost 2,000 years before this. And they were still, guns ended the importance of a shield wall. That's it. The problem is when you go to charge a shield wall, and if the other guys have a shield wall, there's a lot of pushing and shoving and some stabbing, but a Zweihander's job was to just charge madly at that shield wall with this big 6-foot sword, a Zweihander, and just start swinging and try to create a gap in the shield wall. You with me? Mortality rate was fairly to partly cloudy high, but these were Germans in the Middle Ages. They were fine, right? Those were their primary weapons, and a lot of them were professional soldiers. A lot of them were well-trained, but ultimately what you need to remember is they're mercenaries. They comprise a majority of the dudes we're about to meet that aren't Swiss Guard, okay? You also need to remember Charles III, right? So there's Charles V, who's the emperor. He barely comes up in this story until it's done. Charles III is kind of key. He was a duke, and he was related to John Wayne. He was the commander of the army that Charles V sent out to Italy. He's either called Duke Charles or Charles Duke because he was the Duke of Burgundy. We doing good?
Yes.
So you have Charles V, the emperor of the Holy Roman Empire. You have his commander, Charles III, which seems odd to me. Right? They're controlling troops, tons of different kinds, but basically Landsknecht. Every word in German has to be said like that. If I ever learn German fluently, I'll talk like this, yeah. Okay. Just like, and the Germans will be like, just go with English.
Yeah.
Yeah, please. Please, for the sake of peace among our peoples. What were we talking about? Oh, then you have Pope Clement VII. And those are the key folk. Okay? How we doing?
Good.
Yeah. Before we move along, let's remind everyone that if you're in a position to, you should support local businesses. It's a great way to go. It helps your community. Local businesses help the community. And for us, like when it comes to church supplies, we always use Celtic Cove Catholic Bookstore in Oxford, Michigan, or Michigan Church Supply in Mount Morris, Michigan. That way, we got family-owned, wonderful businesses that really help their community. And the cool thing is this, as I always point out, when you buy religious things from a secular source, you don't know what's happened to them. You don't know where they came from. These guys know where stuff comes from. And so make sure you check them out. If you're in the market for a new or used car, you simply can't do better than Alcera. Here in Grand Blanc, we got a ton of Alcera dealerships. The best one is the Chevy dealership, and for a crazy reason, they sell Chevys. This is the will of our Father in heaven for you. So head on out to Alcera Chevy in Grand Blanc. Ask for Kyle. Kyle's going to take care of you. There we go. That's our commercial, Carrie. Carrie.
I like it.
So here's where we're at. In the early 1500s, the growing power of the Holy Roman Empire, particularly with Charles V in charge, kind of freaked out the Pope. He felt like Charles wanted to and was capable of taking total control of Italy and the church, be it overtly or in a little more of a slick fashion, right? So what was his response to this? Well, he went to the enemy of Charles V, a guy named King Francis of France. Now, who does that, right? Like, it's like, I'm going to be the first king of America, so I'm going to be King America. King America of America. Pick, King Francis. Pick. Either change your country's name or change your name. It's in the Bible. So King Francis of France had an army in Italy, and they basically, King Francis and Pope Clement VII, formed an alliance. Okay, and what did they call the alliance? You ready for this? Yes. The League of Cognac.
Really?
So there was some drinking. Let's just put it out there. It was probably Cavassier. Did you get this at all?
I didn't.
Okay. It's okay. You don't need to. I'm 12. This is what you need to know. So this League of Cognac, their whole reason for existence is we're going to resist the Habsburg dynasty, the Charles V, expansion into Italy. Okay? And this will protect the church. This will keep the Holy Roman Emperor from becoming too powerful. How did it work out? Not good at all. The French were defeated soundly in Italy. Big surprise. Was that you, Carrie? Did you just make a French joke?
No, I think you did.
Okay, Chuck did. I understand. So the Holy Roman Emperor Charles V put the armory out there led by Duke Charles III, and they wiped out King Francis I and his entire army. And so now you have an army. And after the battle, what do you got? You've got this force for the Holy Roman Empire of 6,000 Spaniards, 14,000 Landsknecht, some Italian infantry, and cavalry from all over the empire, as well as, and I love this, ready? Assorted bandits who joined in the raid. What do you have? After that battle, you got 34,000 troops. That would make it one of the largest armies in Europe at the time, by a pretty good stretch. And they've just won a big old battle, and they're in Italy. And that's when Charles III, under Charles V, realized we have a minor, just a tiny little problem. You ready? We can't pay our troops.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You know, the dudes with the guns, the crossbows, and the Zweihanders would like their pay now. And they're not getting paid. And there's really only one reasonable thing to do if you're a mercenary army, which is kill the person in charge and start looting, right? And we could get into this, okay? We could really get into this. But here's the key. Charles III, who was the guy leading the army, knew he's got two choices, to get dead or to go get Rome. That's it. Those were his two choices. He didn't seem to want to do it, but you do need to pay your mercenaries. Yeah. In every example from history, right? If you look at the Punic Wars between Rome and Carthage, one of the things the Carthaginians, they never had their own army. They bought armies. And there was a couple times where we were like, we'll pay you less today. And they were like, oh, we'll go join the Romans. And that's when they remembered, oh, shoot, we found money in the couch cushions. You're all set. Yeah. It's just one of those lessons in history you learn over and over. And it's why, by the way, I always get nervous about the privatization of our military. It freaks me out. Yeah. I've never historically run into something where that happens and it doesn't go south.
Yeah.
Right? You have a guy who basically just takes former soldiers, makes a private army, and the government contracts him to do things. He gets fabulously wealthy, and then he can just get bigger. And it's like, at some point soon in the U.S., we're going to have civilian armies paid for with your tax dollars who we can't stop. It's crazy to think of, but it's what we're doing because we're busy fighting about stupid things. So anyway, in the end, Charles III was kind of bullied into this, and he started leading them toward Rome. And you might think, well, why would they go to Rome? Wealth and ease. There's no one guarding Rome. Now, at this point, what's fascinating is Martin Luther kind of did a press release and was all like, yeah, don't do it. And anybody who's following him, he said, should not join in this army heading toward Rome. And nobody listened to him. So Duke Charles, on the 20th of April, 1527, started heading toward Rome. Now, he was not in control of his army. He was barely in control of this army. They sacked cities and outer defenses the whole way there. Killing, raping, pillaging. They hit the walls of Rome on May 5th. So what do you have? You have 37,000 troops, as well as, quote, assorted criminals and robbers. Who's defending the city of Rome? About 5,000 militia and 189 Swiss Guard. That's it. The only thing they had going for them is they had walls, right? And it's tough to get over walls. So Duke Charles looks over the situation and he was like, we got to go quick. And we got to take the walls right away, because there's probably 10 armies in Europe that if they find out we're doing this, will run to the Pope's rescue. Right? So what do? We have to get in there quick so that we don't get trapped between an army behind us and city walls in front of us. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Strategery. May 6th, the Imperial Army attacked the walls. What's the first thing that happened? Duke Charles was killed. Why? It's kind of interesting. He was in the habit of wearing a white robe. Why? So that his troops could see him. But here's the thing. If your troops can see you, the other guys can too. And the militia went, hey, somebody in charge. Boom! Right? And sent him to hell. While that was a nice, whoever pulled the trigger, way to go. But that was the last guy who had any hope of controlling this mob. This organized, very well-armed mob who wants money. The restraint disappeared. They took the walls that day. And the savagery and barbarity with which this army unleashed itself on the city was fairly shocking. Now, there's a guy named Philibert. And first of all, strike one. Right? It's like, I'm Philibert. You can just see it. Like, he probably pushed up his glass. Chuck, how we always do that? Yeah. Hey, guys, let's just knock off the looting, huh? Can't we just talk? Anyway, first problem was his name. Second, nobody liked him. Nobody was afraid of him. And he issued orders all the time. And everyone was like, thanks, Philibert. He was completely ignored. As the army of marauders, their goal is the Vatican, right? They can get all the other stuff too. And as they're burning and pillaging their way to the Vatican, the Swiss guard started trying to get the Pope out. We got to get him out of here. There's 189 of us. I'm not exaggerating. And 32,000 of them. So they did the thing that tactically they could. They found a narrow corridor. In this case, it was the Teutonic Cemetery in the Vatican, and they made their last stand. They do not have guns. They do not have Zweihanders. They do not have crossbows. They have their halberds and ferocious training and loyalty. And they made their last stand there. And the whole goal was pretty simple. We just have to hold them as long as we can so we can get the Pope out of here. So even though we say there were 189, give me a second, 189 Swiss Guard, doing this last stand, there was about 150. The rest were set on the task of grabbing the Holy Father and getting him out of there. And it was a dogfight the whole way. It's one of the most noble and selfless things you're going to read about in history. Their captain of the Swiss Guard, Caspar Royst, was wounded in this battle, and he quite literally went home to say goodbye to his wife. He knew he was done. They fought bitterly and, again, hopelessly outnumbered, and they were basically annihilated. In the end, when they broke through, they followed Caspar Royst, which oddly enough helped. Because again, the whole thing is get the Pope out of here. They murdered him in front of his wife, Caspar Royst. A guy named Hercules Goldie took over command, and then he basically rushed to the 40 guys that were going to try to get the Pope to where he had to go. At this point, of the 198, 42 are left. At this point, they've killed more than half of the invading army. I am not kidding. Yeah. You can read accounts of it, of Swiss Guard with numerous bullet holes in them, still fighting. This was just some of the most ferocious, close quarter combat you're going to encounter at the time. And again, the genius of the Swiss Guard to use the Teutonic Cemetery to lure them into a narrow corridor where their numbers will mean less. Okay? So this group under Hercules Goldie made their way across something called the Passado de Borgia, and it's this corridor that still connects the Vatican City to Castle Sant'Angelo. And if you go look, you can see it. It's still there. And here's the crazy thing. I promise I'm telling the truth. You can see the bullet marks in it from this war, from this battle, that the Swiss Guard were quite literally just falling, surrounding, make a mass of humans around the Pope, and just run. And as you get hit and fall, there's another guy to jump in. And this little bundle of Swiss Guard got him to the door and barricaded him in, and they all gave up their life. Unreal. Again, if you go to the Vatican, ask to see the Passado de Borgia, and you can see all kinds of big chunks from the bullets. Because if you know about arquebuses or whatever, they're very hard to aim, right? You got to remember, what was this, 1527? Nobody figured out rifling the barrel of a gun until, like, our Civil War. Leave it to Americans. We can make this bullet work better. So at this point, you're lobbing huge, what we would say, 50 cal balls. But anyway, so the 20,000 troops that invaded the Vatican, 15,000 were killed by the Swiss Guard and the militia. Holy cow. Right? I need you to think about that. I don't know if Navy SEALs could have done better. I don't know if Army Rangers could have done better. I'm sure Marines could have. My buddy's a Marine. He always says, you know why other groups have special forces? Because they need them. But the Swiss Guard fought to the last man, and they got the Pope out. They cut the Imperial Army down by 3/4. And the Pope was able to stay locked up in Castle San Angelo for a while. We'll get to it in a minute. This was the thing. And the Swiss Guard are sworn in on the anniversary of this every year, May 6th.
Wow.
Yeah. So on the anniversary of this noble last stand is when the Swiss Guard are enrolled. They're sworn in. And it's something you can watch on YouTube. You can see the ritual. May 6th of every year, we get new Swiss Guard. So in the end, they rounded up this army, the last 1,000 defenders of the papal capitals and shrines, and executed all of them. And that's when they began pillaging. We're not sure how many Roman citizens were murdered. We know at minimum 6,000. The other end is assumed to be 12,000. Churches, monasteries, palaces, homes, museums, everything looted and destroyed. And even the cardinals who sided with the Holy Roman Empire, they had to pay money to this army. Don't sack my house. Okay, if you come up with 10 grand, we'll do it. Okay. So this all started on May 6th. On May 8th, Cardinal Colonna, who was an enemy of the Pope, right, did not like him, was siding with the Habsburgs, was siding with the Holy Roman Empire, he entered the city. And with him, he brought all kinds of peasants who had their own beef with Rome. When Colonna saw what was happening, it broke his heart. This army was just out of control. There was no one in charge. You got Philibert, but Philibert's off trying to change his legal name to Steve. I don't know what the heck that is.
That's hilarious.
Instead of joining in the pillaging, Cardinal Colonna began bringing every refugee he could find into his palace in Rome and protecting them. The one thing that was saved, and this is crazy. You ready? The Vatican Library. And you just can't fathom how important that is.
Out of respect?
No. Because Philibert put his headquarters there.
Oh, okay.
Right? Philibert put his headquarters in the Vatican Library, and they weren't interested in Philibert. So it saved. I just can't get over. You ever think about historically what would happen if we would have actually been able to look at the Library of Alexandria? Right? But that was destroyed.
Yes.
And all we can do is speculate on what was there. Like, I don't know if you know this. You can argue that the Romans had a working steam engine sometime around 200 AD. Like, there was some Greek who visited the Library of Alexandria and described something he saw that the Romans there. Sounds like a working steam engine, which is insane.
Yeah.
So much technology was lost when the Western Empire fell that we never recovered until literally industrialization. There was stuff the Romans built we still can't figure out. I'm telling the truth. But the Vatican Library, had it been lost, the world would be a different place. It's shocking to think of. But anyway, it was saved. If it's any comfort, Philibert kept going around the city saying, "Cease your sacking." And they were all like, "Your name's Philibert, dude." If it was Steve, maybe. In the meantime, Pope Clement is still kind of a prisoner in Castle San Angelo. Finally, the army of the League of Cognac put their booze down and marched in, and they got there on June 1st. But they didn't enter the city. They were, what do you say, overly cautious. They would have easily taken the city back. I mean, no problem. That army that was ravaging it was not organized. They had no leaders anymore. They had Philibert, but that's it. And instead of helping, this army of Cognac just kind of hovered outside the city and didn't do anything. Pope Clement sees this, and on June 6th, he offered a surrender. He was required to pay 400,000 ducati in exchange for his life. What's a ducati? It's a motorcycle that the Italians built, and it's very fast. You're just going to let it go. They're actually called Ducats. I tried, pardon?
Okay.
Yeah, Ducats, 400,000 Ducats, and what is that today? I looked it up, and literally what it said is it's impossible to calculate. At minimum, it would be $60 million in today's money. At absolute minimum. But all of that doesn't take into consideration how much the price of gold was at that time. So, 100 million. They said conservative estimate, it'd be $100 million in today's money. So Pope Clement agreed. Here's 400,000 ducats. He ceded a ton of territory that the church owned to the Holy Roman Empire. And they let him live. So that's the nutshell. You can read a lot. A minute-by-minute accounts are available of the Swiss Guard. And, it just moves me to read. They would not quit, and they fought to the last man. And the whole goal was get him to safety, and those crazy guys did it. He lived. He's the only one who lived. As a result of this, the church and the Swiss formed a kind of brotherhood of broken hearts, for lack of a better phrase. And the Swiss have always guarded the Pope since. Always. That's the story. Now, I'm going to hit the aftershock in a minute. But are there any questions or comments? Or how are people doing?
They're doing well.
Is this crazy or what?
Yeah.
To be clear, last time I did this show, that took me 2 episodes. I was so ADHD. Not that I'm not now, but anyway. Okay, so then let's look at the aftershock. We might do this in one show, girly.
Okay.
Yeah. It would be hard to explain how big this was.
Oh, wait. It looks like people are losing signal.
People are losing a signal?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm giving you guys the signal for Steele second.
I'm not having any issues here, so I don't know what it is.
Nobody found that funny.
I know.
Chuck, did you find it funny, bro? Chuck found it funny. And I could tell by the way he rolled his eyes. So while Carrie's trying to reestablish the signal, let me throw this out there just as a completely irrelevant side note. You were probably told that the Swiss Guards uniforms were designed by Michelangelo. They were not. It's basically how they were dressed when this battle happened. Michelangelo had nothing to do with their uniforms. And there's a ton of rules about their clothes. A ton of rules. Interesting stuff. So is it working? Is it working? Let me see if somebody wrote me.
No, here's a question. I don't know what that one was, but
okay. My favorite Marine is listening.
Which is the best place to listen to this Facebook or YouTube? Which is the most beneficial for you all? YouTube.
YouTube, yeah. So somebody asked, what's the most beneficial? What benefits, frankly, us? I guess YouTube. Facebook, I can't. I haven't been able to get on Facebook for months, and I don't miss it. Oddly enough. Did you know that?
Well, I do put things out on your Facebook.
Oh, you do?
Mm-hmm.
My lady, how come you can do it?
I don't
This
know.
is sexism.
I think it has something to do with your phone more than Facebook.
No, it's your phone.
Right.
Did you hear how I came back at her just now? I'm sorry you folks had to see that. It was very ugly. Okay, so I think if we're hearing right, things are going fine. People can hear and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so let's look at the aftershock, okay? So before this sack of Rome, Pope Clement VII opposed the expansion of this Holy Roman Empire because he understood nothing good's going to come of this. And he understood they want Italy. They want control of the church. And he was right. After this, he did not have any finances or military resources to oppose Charles V. And so what happened? Charles V exercised basically total dominance over the church. Italian society and culture. This had a remarkable impact on them, especially on Rome. This really was the last time Italians had a shot at independence until the 19th century when they got it. Right? Here in the 1500s, the League of Cognac, I'll just never get used to that, was Italy's last chance at independence, and it failed. Right? It also had a devastating impact on Rome. Rome had been the center of the Italian high Renaissance culture, right? And they patronized all kinds of artists and musicians. And this is one of those things historically where you were probably taught badly. Look at what we have now for art. Look at how ugly our churches are. Look at how ugly so many things are. Like, you look at the National Endowment for the Arts and you're like, this is awful. Well, it's because the church stopped paying artists. One of my friends she's an artist and she's not Christian. And she says the best thing that ever happened to art and music was the Catholic Church. All the beauty you see is because the church paid people to make beautiful things. This is the end of it. You never really see it again. And that's a tragedy, right? As for Rome, she suffered complete depopulation and economic collapse. You heading out, bro? All right, take care, brother. Uncle Chuck's leaving because he's sick of you guys. He's sick of your attitudes. It's really a problem. To give you a sense of things, Rome's population, the city of Rome, dropped to 10,000. How insane is that? Right? 10,000 in the whole city of Rome. All the artists, all the musicians, who were just focused in Rome, they're all dead or they fled. Dead or fled. We should have a game. Right. A lot of imperial soldiers, a lot of Charles V soldiers died in this because why? Well, it turns out when you murder people and leave their bodies to rot in the streets, you get sick. And that's exactly what they did. This cardinal I told you about who visited wrote a bit about the stench because they were too busy raping and pillaging to bother with something so insignificant as burying dead people. And whenever you get that many corpses in one spot, you get diseases. And that's exactly what happened. The plague broke out. All of the pillaging finally ended, get this, in 1528, February. So it was 8 months of pillaging. And why did it end? There was no one left to ransom. The food is all gone. And all of a sudden, soldiers are dying of plague. Why? Again, they just left the corpses out. For his part, Clement tried continuing to patronize arts and building projects, but it never happened. The population never bounced back until about 1560 was the first time it started to approach the population it had before the sacking of Rome. And he spent all the money the church had to be ransomed. And he gave up all the land the church had to be ransomed. And you might think, well, he should have, let them kill him. Okay, but then what next? Right? This guy wasn't stupid. Let's say he says, no, I will not give these things. You'll have to kill me. They'll kill him. And then they'll make another pope and they'll go, hey, yes, you can have all the land. Might as well have somebody in there with, more than double-digit IQ. Yeah. And Clement was pretty smart. Now, what about what about the emperor? Where is he in all this? The guy who kind of started it in a sense, he, whether it's real or not, claimed to be incredibly embarrassed by this whole thing. Yet he took the ransom money. Yeah. And he kept the lands And he ordered all his troops to go on in. Hey, boys, we got it. And you might think, well, where are the Swiss Guard? No, I'm not being crude. They're all dead. There's nobody left, guys. And the Swiss aren't going to send 189 guys to fight the same fight again. Right? They wouldn't even be able to get in the city. In what was really probably the biggest, Charles just started to recreate the church in his own image. Clement basically did whatever Charles told him to. Charles nominated cardinals, and Pope Clement, what do you say? Okay. Yes, sir. I'll make that cardinal. That dude a cardinal. He required Pope Clement to crown him and proclaim him the Holy Roman Emperor. Now, here's where it's going to get weird. Okay? You ready?
Yeah.
This is funky.
Yeah.
So Charles, his favorite aunt was this chick named Catherine of Aragon. And if you're going, how do I know that name? Well, she was married to King Henry VIII. Henry wanted to have his marriage to her annulled. And Clement refused. And you might always have wondered, why did Clement refuse? Because Charles told him to. That's my favorite aunt, you jerk. Don't annul the marriage. And so he didn't. And then you get the Anglican Church. Isn't this crazy?
Over that one thing.
Pardon?
Over that one thing.
Yeah. Like, all the craziness. In the end, wow, we're going to do this in one show.
Okay.
I'm so impressed with me.
Me too.
These actions changed the church forever. We were really never again a Renaissance church. We were really never again able to patronize art and great music. So when you look at the beautiful, insane art and music, and you look historically, it just stops within 20 years of this because there's no one to pay these artists and musicians. All of it's gone. And at the same time, the fact that, being candid, a majority of these people were what you and I would call Lutheran or Protestant. The Catholic Protestant thing, from which even Luther had some hope, no. Any hope of unity was now gone. Just freaking gone. And the church, who's now moved away from art and music, decides the key thing is to oppose Protestantism, and became a lot more focused on religious orthodoxy than on anything else, which is where we are today. And that's not a bad thing. But the bad thing is, where'd all the art go? Where'd all the beautiful music go? It's really astounding to think of. This really blew up the Inquisition. Yeah, crazy stuff. You just can't get over. I can't get over how insane this is. So when the Protestant thing happened, you might think, oh, Pope Clement called the Council of Trent. No, that would be Emperor Charles V, who told Clement to. Clement did not want to. Clement didn't believe even Charles should be dictating religious matters. And Charles was like, oh my gosh, that's so cute. That is so cute. And in the end, Clement's thing was this. You want to solve this new problem of these things called Protestants, because this was new. He was like, we should probably all fight. And Charles was like, that requires money, and I'm fighting in other places. After the sack, Clement said, fine, call the church council at Trent, Italy, and that's where you get the Trent Council. He didn't convene the council during his lifetime. He saw that as a death trap. But 11 years after his death, his successor did it at his behest or whatever, his desires. And Charles was right, as it turned out. I think it was better that we just hammered out, here's our answer to all those questions, rather than, I don't know, let's all kill each other for Jesus. But at this point, you could really argue that in the 1520s, a reunification of Christianity was possible. Once you get to 1545, it is not possible outside of a miracle from our Lord. Right? Martin Luther put it this way, quote, Christ reigns in such a way that the emperor who persecutes Luther for the Pope destroys the Pope for Luther. So now, as I told you, every year on May 6th, on the anniversary of this, they swear in the Swiss Guard. So I think what we'll do, next show, we'll cover the Swiss Guard today, right? A more modern history of it, just some different key things you may want to know. So that's it for the noble stand of the Swiss Guard, and faithfully and fiercely. That's them. We'll get into that later. Okay. So, questions? I got like 2 minutes, 4 minutes, anything? Bueller?
Well, here is one off topic. Somebody is looking for a rosary repair person in the Lansing area.
Gosh, when I was at St. Gerard, there was one, she's with the Lord now. That'd be the only. So if anyone listening to this is in the Lansing area and you can repair rosaries, please look at our comment section, right?
Yes.
So this person can get some help with their rosary. Yep. I would do it, but I'm a very reverend. I don't have time for such things.
I also think on, if they happen to be on TikTok,
Yeah.
there's an account called Catholic Murph. I think she
I
does.
love her.
I think she does. Yes, and I think she does rosary repair.
Oh, okay. So if you didn't hear Carrie on
They
TikTok, oh, they did? Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Yep. Catholic Murph is awesome. For those of you who, if you're not following her on X or on the thing you just said, TikTok, I think she's outstanding personally, and I know everything. Ergo, it must be true.
Must.
Like when you're a very reverend, and I don't often talk about it because I'm very humble, but your opinions basically become dogma. It's in church law. So there we are.
It does appear you spoke poorly of Facebook, and it appears that we're having problems on Facebook. A lot of people switched to YouTube today.
YouTube. Yeah, if you can. I don't know. I know Facebook
Jacqueline Casey
tends...
says, mail it to me. Sorry.
No, not at all.
Jacqueline Casey says, mail it to me. I think she does rosary repair too, doesn't she?
I can't hear you. Who does?
I think Jacqueline does.
Our Jacqueline?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Jacqueline, if you're listening.
She's right there. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I did say my favorite Marine is listening. That's her.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
No, it's all good, sis. So she'll do it for, she just texted me, even though I'm not looking at my phone, and said she'll do it for $300. I'm going to be honest, that seems a little steep. She has a problem. What were we talking about? Something with God and Jesus. I don't know. But this Friday, I did meet Bishop Barons. I forgot to tell you guys.
Yeah,
Gosh darn
I
it.
want to hear about this.
He's a jerk. I'm just kidding. What a sweet fellow. He is quiet and shy.
Okay.
Yeah, I got his wallet though. I faked a hug. I got it. Good dude. He gave a homily that I didn't hear. I couldn't hear a word of it. Like at one point, I literally heard the word satellites. And I don't know if he actually said the word satellites, but that was literally the only word I heard.
Oh, no.
Oh, that's all right. I mean, I'm sure he knocked it out of the park.
I wonder if they recorded it, though, so you can go back and watch it.
I'll ask Sean.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if there's anyone foolish enough to be listening to this from Winona, Rochester Diocese, you just have the most wonderful diocese. Oh, my gosh. Yeah. What a treat. And I met a bunch of good people there, a couple bad ones. I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. I met some horrible, horrible people. No, what a beautiful diocese. Oh, my gosh.
Nice.
And, I went to this restaurant right across from Mayo, which is, oh, my gosh. They had liver and onions on the menu.
Love that.
Oh, sis. And I ordered them. And she brought me a big old plate. And she told me, we had a lot. Like, I got the sense people aren't like, give me liver and onions.
It's not a popular dish.
I am goofy for liver. I'm serious. Like, I'd eat it every night.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, this is terrible, but this was what meat we could get.
Yes.
And I ate it all the time. And like I would rub it on my body if I thought I could. I just grossed myself out.
Yeah, a little bit.
All right. So you guys, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please give us a good review on YouTube or whatever podcast service you're using or whatever. If you hate it, write a horrible review and put it on Father Mike Schmidt's podcast or YouTube. Right? He can afford it.
There you go.
I'm working with him next month, aren't I?
You are? How's he doing lately?
Good. I just texted him a couple days ago. Doing great.
Okay. Good.
Okay, so what were we talking about?
God.
And Jesus. Oh, we're done. We're done. Okay, so we pray that Jesus bless the Tigers as we vanquish the Texan foe. Except my nephew Chewy and Megan. I love them so much, and they love the Astros. So we will let you guys have one game.
Here is a question.
Oh, talk to me, Goose.
What is the deal with putting French dressing on liver?
Okay, I know this one. So the question is, what is the deal with putting French dressing on liver? Those people are going to hell. It's that simple. Their tastes are so distorted. Like, they hate God so much that it's actually affecting their taste buds. You know what you put on liver? A fork.
Onions.
Yeah, onions. These cats said liver, bacon, onions.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember seeing any bacon in there. So I don't know. Smash.
Maybe they
fried it in
bacon grease. Yes.
Bacon. Really? French dressing on? Did you just read all the stuff like the French lost this battle? That's why the church got screwed. So let's put the blame where it belongs. The French. And you can't get too hard on the French because, like, there's no way we're a country without them in the Revolutionary War. I mean, just no frickin' way.
There you go.
But after that, we get a little tired of bailing you guys out. Was that out loud?
A little bit.
All right. So, there was a movie. Now I have to think, and I was just shocked. I was reading like an article about this movie. Oh, okay. The movie A Time to Kill.
Okay.
Which was, the book was phenomenal.
Okay.
Do you know, like, the French were horrified at this? Like, you should look this up. Like, this whole idea of rogue justice. Okay. And it's like, are you familiar with the United States of America? That's like Tuesday to us. And there was the French, this is terrible. Whatever, dude. Like, they condemned it. There were theaters that wouldn't show it. Do you know this?
No, I didn't.
And I'm like, what was that? La mercenary. Or as they say in France, okay. So we have finished picking on the French. Sabine hasn't.
They are asking, are we going to get to see Father with Bishop Barron? It was not
No.
taped.
No. I said, look, Bob, this, I don't mix with others. I'm kind of a big deal with your cute little Word on Fire ministry. It's not my job to make your stuff succeed, Bob. That's what I said to him in my head. Out loud, I was like, oh my gosh, what an honor to meet you. So we got... Can you imagine just, hey, Bob.
But you had your fingers crossed behind your
back.
Oh,
totes. I did, man, he is so cool. I just love him. And I didn't name my cat for him, but I just made the connection because when I said Bob, he came running.
But he was familiar with you before you met him.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Nice.
But I don't know where Bob went. But if I say Bob, he comes. It's really weird. I didn't think cats did that.
I think he bailed.
I'm learning a lot about cats.
Okay. That's a good thing.
All right. Salad pray. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Heavenly Father, thank you for the Swiss Guard. Thank you that for over 500 years, men have volunteered to protect our Holy Father at terrible cost. We ask that you bless all of those who have served in the Swiss Guard, and you protect them and their families. Bless all those who are currently serving. Bless them, protect them, help them to be fierce and faithful. We ask that we recognize the consequences of our greed, of our power games, of all the silly little things we do that damage others and have an effect we could never predict. Forgive us, Lord. Help us to be meek and humble of heart. Protect Pope Leo. Thank you for him. Lord, you know the people we love very much and worry about. And you know all the circumstances in our lives that cause us to fret, and we give all of it to you, Lord, because we love you and we trust you. And may Almighty God bless you all, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. My Kung Fu is strong. I'll see you beautiful people Friday, and until then, frozen peas are my gift to you. Coach, is it over?
No, it's never over. It'll never be over. It's just starting.